I believe that to achieve that lasting peace, which we so long for, Israel must make some significant course corrections, which I will outline in this speech. I urge every actor at the table, the Israelis, the Biden administration, the Qataris, the Egyptians, and anybody else at the table, to continue doing everything possible to get a deal. Hamas has been given a deal already. They should say yes. It is no time to waste. I believe the United States must provide robust humanitarian aid to Gaza and pressure the Israelis to let more of it get through to the people who need it. To blame only Israel for the deaths of Palestinians is unfair, one-sided, and often deliberately manipulative, and it ignores Hamas's role in this conflict. And now, as a result of those inflamed tensions in both Israeli and Palestinian communities, people on all sides of this war are turning away from a two-state solution, including Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who in recent weeks has said out loud repeatedly what many have long suspected, by outright rejecting the idea of Palestinian statehood and sovereignty. As the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in our government, and as a staunch defender of Israel, I rise today to say unequivocally, this is a grave mistake for Israel, for Palestinians, for the region, and for the world. A two-state solution may feel daunting, especially now, but I believe it is the only realistic and sustainable solution on the basis of security, on the basis of prosperity, on the basis of fundamental human rights and dignity. A permanent ceasefire, effective immediately, would only allow Hamas to regroup and launch further attacks on Israeli civilians. There can never be a two-state solution if Hamas has any significant power. However, a temporary ceasefire, such as President Biden has proposed, which would allow for the return of hostages and humanitarian relief for suffering Palestinians, is quite different and is something I support. The fourth major obstacle to peace is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has all too frequently bowed to the demands of extremists like Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and the settlers in the West Bank. Quite frankly, I haven't heard enough Palestinian leaders express anguish about Hamas and other extreme elements of Palestinian society. I implore them to speak up now, even when it may be hardest, because that is the only true way to honor the lives of all those lost, by transcending the enmity and bloodshed and working together in good faith for a better future. Now, if Prime Minister Netanyahu's current coalition remains in power after the war begins to wind down and continues to pursue dangerous and inflammatory policies that test existing U.S. standards for assistance, then the United States will have no choice but to play a more active role in shaping Israeli policy by using our leverage to change the present course.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to be late.
Or any member of Congress. But is there a concern in the administration at all that these remarks are going to make it more difficult to deal with Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government?
No, obviously Congress is an independent branch of government. I think the government of Israel understands quite well how the U.S. government works. They interact frequently, not just with members of the executive branch, but with members of Congress, including Senator Schumer, who has traveled to Israel a number of times over the years. And I'm sure that they fully understand that he speaks for himself. He's obviously someone we're in close contact with, but it's not a statement from the executive branch.
Well, fair enough. And so I think there is a suspicion out there that Senator Schumer was putting out publicly what had been being said privately.
No, that is not the case. These are statements made by Senator Schumer, not by the Biden administration.
Okay, so there's no frustration in the administration with Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government?
Look, there are a number of things that we want to see Israel do differently. We've made that quite clear I've said it from this podium, as you know, a number of times, and we've made quite clear in direct conversations with the Prime Minister.
To evacuate or otherwise help those who are?
Today, we are imposing further targeted sanctions on 3 Israeli individuals involved in undermining stability in the West Bank. We have also designated 2 associated entities referred to as farms. These West Bank outposts are owned or controlled by designated individuals, have acted as a base from which to launch violent acts, and are illegal even under Israeli law.
About the maritime corridor, that it demands tremendous coordinating among donor countries.
But as we have made clear, the United States will continue to take its own actions to hold accountable those engaging in extremist violence and threatening the peace, security, and stability of the West Bank. This includes through actions like those taken today, through the visa restriction policy announced by Secretary Blinken in December, under which the department has taken steps to impose visa restrictions on dozens of individuals.
Classified American intelligence community assessment that indicated that
It is critical that Israel take additional action to stop settler violence and hold accountable those responsible for it. Not just for the sake of the victims of this violence, but for Israel's own security and standing in the world.
To win this war, we must destroy the remaining Hamas battalions in Rafah. If not, Hamas will regroup, rearm, and reconquer Gaza. And then we're back to square one. And that's an intolerable threat that we cannot accept. We will destroy Hamas, free our hostages, and ensure that Gaza doesn't ever pose a threat to Israel again. We will finish the job in Rafah while enabling the civilian population to get out of harm's way. We've taken measures to minimize civilian casualties that no other army has taken in history.
צריך לעמוד לצדכם, ודמותך תישאר בליבנו. נאמר אמן. כאן. אש. כאן. אש.
نطلع صوروش يا عم 12 10 حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل كان السبب الله اكبر لا الحمد حسبنا الله ان شاء الله بدنا ناكل اولادنا ماتوا من الجوع اللي تاكل يا عمي قاعد بيصير فينا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل قرب ألف عافية مستهدفين سيارة صواريخ استهدفتها. ما أعرف تابع لأحد من الأشخاص.
I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard.
حتى مترتبه مبتعد
It's looking tough, but are you concerned about violence in East Jerusalem with that one? I sure am. All right, thank you, Brad.
Thank you,
Thank you.